celebrating 9 years of podcast excellence. The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Okay, we're not going to take a whole lot of time tonight because, of course, we got to do the regular podcast on Wednesday. I already did night 1 of WrestleMania, and I talked about Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, and NXT Stand and Deliver, all there for you. WrestlingIsReal.com. You can look at all the past episodes. And tonight, the right outcome happened with Roman Reigns becoming the unified Universal and WWE Heavyweight Champion. That was the right move, all in all. And they didn't take a whole lot. They've already revisited this match, and they've given a whole lot of time. And Brock Lesnar now, he takes another hit, another loss, and that's it. So now Roman Reigns will be with both championships, and I'm guessing he's going to have to do something where he has to defend both separately on Raw and SmackDown, or there's some split that they're going to have to do. Whenever that's supposed to be, but the right outcome happened in champion versus champion. Roman Reigns continues to be champion. He is the main eventer, and he continues to be that so, and he is the one that is leading the charge for this company, and that's important. Interesting, because we had a bunch of women's matches last night. We only had one in the women's tag team titles, and Sasha Banks and Naomi win that match in a it's a team that you like to see them together. That was really good. So I like to see where that outcome comes from, and the chance for them, they're going to do something, because now, much like Bayley and Sasha Banks being tag team champions, something can be done here with both of these stars, and maybe there's going to be a split where Naomi might benefit from it. I don't know, but Sasha Banks getting this role right here and working with some of the other stars that she did, that's good. Bobby Lashley staying strong against Omos, and Omos being given his first loss. That was significant. RK Bro winning a triple threat, another Raw match. But again, the start of the night, first about hour, was felt like a very good Raw. And then we really got into things. And when I asked yesterday about the future of the company, and I wanted to really kind of go back and say, okay, from last year's WrestleMania, what happened to some of the stars we had? Because there was one name in particular that I mentioned. We didn't see him on TV. We had not seen him around in a while. And all of a sudden, now we see him in a new spot. And I'm like, excellent. Okay. So RK Bro, Alpha Academy, Street Profits, they had a great match together. And this is like a match you'd see on the last hour of Raw. 30 minutes, they went one at it, and they just had a good old time. And RK Bro continues to be dominant. They like to keep that team together. And who knows how long that's going to stay. But it's obvious that people don't want to see RK Bro be split up. That's not the plan at all. They're going to go with it. No signs of a breakup. That's why I took for that match. Bobby Lashley against Omos. And Omos, listen, they need to keep the matches short with him. They cannot go long. They did not. The match only went 6 minutes. And there you go. Like that was what needed to be happening right there. And just put it out of place. Omos is so green right now, you cannot expect him to do anything at this moment to be any dominant. And Bobby Lashley needed a spot because he was going to go ahead and come back. He didn't have to go and get shoulder surgery as planned. He was able to go ahead and just rehab. He's back. He did it. He was great in victory. The Jackass match, or the Anything Goes match, was very fun. It's a hardcore match of a different kind of hardcore match, because it very much was gimmicky. It was a very cartoon hardcore match. And we don't see that a whole lot. Like, I was really surprised on when it went. And then I look and I say, okay, they did everything in this match. So they added a couple of the Jackass members in. Wee Man gets a slam on Sami Zayn. That looked pretty impressive. You had this whole Coyote versus Roadrunner dynamic with these two. And Knoxville obviously knows his wrestling. He enjoyed himself in there, had a good old time. And Sami Zayn taking everything. Taking tasers, which really wasn't taking a taser shot, but, it looked good for the match. Taking the mousetrap table, that looked pretty good, but I guess the mousetraps were never set. But except for the big cartoon one they put in the end of the match, which did not necessarily go as planned. It was like they took the string, it didn't work, and then Knoxville had to gimmick it, get the thing to go ahead and snap, and it worked, which was really good. And the crowd was into it. A match I didn't know it was going to go so well. Johnny Knoxville, man, I think he really helped his brand Jackass with this match. When you look at what they were able to do in real time live, that's very impressive. I was really impressed with what they were able to do. So Sasha Banks, Naomi, with that match, they finished up. And 10 minutes, I actually did like seeing where Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley as a tag team together was a nice adjustment there. I actually think that they, kind of working off each other, that's a better tag team. And does that mean Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan will get to work more, and Carmella and Queen Zelina will also get to work more to actually have a bit of an active women's tag team division? Sure, I like it. I like it a lot. Let's keep that going. That's okay. We can have this for a while and have these four teams work with each other and work on matches and do something with it. That's a good thing to have. And to have them put across different shows, that's fine too. So no problem there. So Liv Morgan's still being used in a prominent tag team. That's not bad. That's not bad compared to what they were doing with her. She's not being thrown completely under the bus. Like we see Nikki ASH is no longer even in the picture. But Liv Morgan surviving the push that she got and her and Rhea Ripley together working, that's, when you can't get them to work out as single stars, let's see if the tag team will work them together. That's the next best thing to do. So it made sense to try to start this off and see what happens. A very good match with Edge and AJ Styles. 24 minutes they gave them. These guys put on a clinic. Grueling match. I mean, AJ Styles already had a cut on him on the way to the ring. Without going into the whole story of the match, which was just a very well laid out match, these guys, it was just pretty predictable. These guys were going to have a great match together. And they did. It's going to be, it's one of the best matches of the night. Would be tough. Of all the matches I enjoyed, I really enjoyed Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins last night. AJ Styles and Edge was kind of like that same similar match, with that same kind of like a feel to it. Very good. New Day getting squashed, basically. A minute 40 seconds. So there was no time for this. They had to put them on the card. They bumped this match from the night before. This was not good. Whew. Oh, man, I'll tell you. Ridge Holland and Sheamus winning. Oh, I don't know. But they did it. They decided to go this route. I don't know how they're going to spin this around afterwards. Pat McAfee and Austin Theory. And Pat McAfee beats Austin Theory. And this was what? A 9-minute match. So, Austin Theory had a good match. But Pat McAfee, just continuing the show, what he did against Adam Cole in NXT, the guy can go. He can wrestle. He knows well enough to go and work in the ring. He did really well for himself. For a guy that doesn't work that much. He trained, but he doesn't get to work in ring much. And he did really well. Really did well. Very impressed. And as for Pat McAfee, I didn't know they were going to go this route. This was a nice surprise for WrestleMania. A couple of them in this match. Because first of all, we already knew there was the seed planted with Mr. McMahon visiting the Pat McAfee show on March 3rd. And the whole thought that maybe, we already heard that rumor about that Vince McMahon wanted to face Pat McAfee. Well, then after the match, Austin Theory loses, and McMahon already had a bit of a beef with McAfee on the Friday night before the WrestleMania, created that rift, and then you created the rift for them to go ahead and get in the ring. And McMahon has a match. 76 years old. The guy still has a pretty good body for 76 years old. Cannot do much in the ring. He was limited. They made it 4 minutes, but there wasn't much he can do anymore. You have to protect the man. You have to do it. There's no more. He's pretty fragile. So they did what he could with him, and McAfee was getting destroyed, and McMahon wins. And then, let's cue back to 1998. Let's just go back to the way it was when NWO was starting to get old in the tooth, and we're starting to see too many members, and they had to go to the Wolf Pack. And on the other side on Raw, you're watching on USA, you're watching Stone Cold and Mr. McMahon every week going at it. And Stone Cold, you hear that glass break, McMahon's in the ring, and stunners for all, including Pat McAfee. So it was a classic throwback, an attitude feud coming back to life, which you had some nostalgia coming in for the night. You brought it back. Great. That works out too. And then I look and I say, okay, Theory was, I kind of felt like it was a little bit of a job because it was not a long match, but it wasn't bad. Like, McAfee was the one going over, and Austin Theory, I was actually surprised that, he was able to go ahead and not get the win, but they did make him look pretty good overall. So we get the bonus match. The angle with Vince and Pat gets paid off. We get Stone Cold and Vince confronting. That gets paid off. That's great. Classic callback. And then Roman Reigns wins. I mean, that's all I'm going to say about this. There's so much more to say about what the future of what this company is going to be doing going forward when it comes to, because there's a whole lot I need to hold off for to talk about once we get into what this all means, because the future of what happens with this company, there's a bunch of names we're going to mention. So in Austin, with the AJ Styles Edge match, Damian Priest is a visual interference, and Damian Priest aligns with Edge, so it's almost like a new brood being put together. Edge making this evolutionary change to this heel character now, going after AJ Styles, and now Damian Priest is brought into the mix now as a part of an alliance with these two now. That's a great idea, especially if Edge is going to go brooding like this once again. Damian Priest getting a bump from Edge really works, and Edge taking him down as a project. That's a very good move. I actually like that a lot. There's not much more to say, because when I look at what we have now down the line for the future of this company, okay, going back to last night, if I look at who we have that we had out there, so Bianca Belair obviously is a pillar. If we know how we like to talk about pillars in AEW, the pillars right now for the future of WWE, right? Young pillars. Bianca Belair is one. Dominic Mysterio, I mean, down the line, I guess you could say. You could say that Riddle is also one of those pillars. That's somebody they're definitely looking behind to be a big star. Omos is somebody they definitely want to get behind and make somebody big. Damian Priest, they're obviously putting some more work in behind. Liv Morgan, we're getting the work in the tag team together. Rhea Ripley working together. That's also good. Ridge Holland obviously working with Sheamus. And Austin Theory. There's some names there. There's a lot. And they had Gable Stevenson also in a thing with Street Profits and Alpha Academy and the whole thing with the post-match, celebration of Red Cups, Solo Cups. And there you go. That's all, there's something to work off of there. And we're seeing some continuity when it comes to seeing some stars continue to be built up. So the progression. Bianca Belair winning a women's title again for the second straight year at WrestleMania. That's huge. Cody Rhodes now coming into play as a new solidified star, part of that upper echelon of the mid-carders with Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Edge also just on the outside looking in. That's all good. Like, it's just all that established stars right there doing a whole lot. And then you look at Damian Priest now attached to Edge. And you're looking at Austin Theory as an attachment to Mr. McMahon. There's some things to take from that. But where do they build from here? It's still a very thin roster. There's not a whole lot to work with there. We need to see what happens also with the new talent that gets brought up, because there's going to have to be some call-ups that come up from NXT or some returns on Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania. So we need to wait to see what the off-season picture is being put together. So we know some of the names and some of the people that are obviously being looked at pretty strong coming out of this pay-per-view the last two nights. The next thing I talk about in the next program has to be to put the pieces together. What's the off-season picture looking like? What is the future of this company? Because tonight and last night, they had to go ahead and rely on quite a bit of Stone Cold, Undertaker coming out for the Hall of Fame, Triple H, several visits out there, and even Mr. McMahon also being out there himself. Like, there was a whole lot of nostalgia that had to be brought out to really build this up. And a lot of part-timers with Ronda Rousey, who took a loss, with Brock Lesnar, who took a loss. Like, that's something to be said where those part-timers took losses, and those were huge to take. There's a lot to unwind from all that. But it's not something I'm going to focus on now because I want to keep it short. Here's what we had. A very good night. And overall, WrestleMania, I'm going to give it an A-. Like, it was really good. It was really good this year. They did a good job with the 2 nights. They paid off a lot more than I thought. But my questions will continue about the future of this company and where they go from here. I'm concerned about that. And that's going to continue to be my focus. That this company has to hedge and trend set for the rest of the wrestling business to thrive. We need WWE to be at such a level with their talent base that continues to, trudge along the level of success. They continue to dredge for themselves year after year, quarter after quarter. Okay? They have to be able to keep this pulling off. And remember, they're going to have stadium shows still the rest of the year. They're going to pull off Money in the Bank. If they're going to go to the UK, they got to go back to Saudi Arabia. They have to go do the show at SummerSlam for Nissan Stadium in Nashville. They got some big shows left to do. They need to pay those off in spades. They need to continue to keep this momentum. The problem is the WrestleMania hangover going to be long enough to really go all the way to SummerSlam, and then we have something else to go after that. So this is that lull we have right now, the WrestleMania hangover. How long does that last? Will the ratings stay up around 2 million for Raw and up to about 3 million for SmackDown? It's not going to be for long, but how long can they stretch it out? How much interest can they get continuing off of WrestleMania to go forward? These are all the questions that I can't answer now. We have to come back this Wednesday, do our regular West Expo podcast, and unwind what happens here after all is said and done and see what Raw after WrestleMania gives us. And then we'll find out more. And that's where we're going to leave it right there. Keep it 15 minutes, nice and smooth. Thanks for listening in, as you always do. Come back for another Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at wrestlingisreal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.